Daniel Ricciardo has been on the rage in the F1 world ever since his victory in the 2021 Italian Grand Prix on September 12th. There are now reports of his victory turning into a documentary. Here's all you need to know about that. First, the event. The 2021 Italian Grand Prix took place a few weeks ago, and all eyes were on Max Verstappen as he won two back-to-back races at the Belgium Grand Prix and the Dutch Grand Prix. It was a fierce battle between him and Lewis Hamilton for a while this season, but at the Italian Grand Prix, it was Daniel Ricciardo that ultimately came out on top. This makes it the 9th race won by Daniel since his first win back in 2014 at the Canadian Grand Prix and his first win since the 2018 Monaco Grand Prix. At the end of the 2019 season, Daniel stood at number 9 on the overall standings. In 2020, he'd improved to number 5, and many were looking forward to him improving his standings even further in 2021. Although he stands at number 8 in 2021, as of right now, he could very well get the momentum going and start a series of wins, much like Verstappen. The number 1 ranked driver in Formula 1 right now did earlier this year. Up next, the documentary. In the midst of all the fanfare surrounding Daniel's first big win in years, he revealed that the camera crew of Netflix's hit show Drive to Survive had been following him throughout the Grand Prix, giving us an unprecedented look into his life before and after the race. The documentary will feature footage that had never been seen before, including footage from backstage, seeing him prepare for the race, and of course, the immediate aftermath of the race. Drive to Survive is a Netflix show that has covered every single World Championship season of Formula 1 since the 2018 season, and it's set to make a return for its coverage of the 2021 season. The show has given viewers a brand new look into the lives of many F1 drivers, including Daniel, who had been featured on the show since the very first episode. It's because of this show that Daniel has managed to amass such a large following, despite not being too successful at the track. His infectious personality and charm have turned him into a fan favorite. Now, what's next for Daniel Ricciardo? With Daniel's incredible win at the Italian Grand Prix, fans are left wondering what's next for the experienced racer. It doesn't really seem like Daniel is in any condition to win the championship outright this year, despite being so widely loved. But there's still a possibility that he can improve his standings. 14 of the season's races have already commenced, and there are only 8 races left. The next game of the season is the Russian Grand Prix, set to take place on September 26. Lewis Hamilton has won the Russian Grand Prix on 4 different occasions and is considered the favorite for this year as well, along with Valtteri Bottas, who has won last year and in 2017. So things aren't looking too good for Daniel here either. But if he can keep the momentum going from the previous race in Italy, things might just turn around. The final European race this season will take place in Istanbul at the Turkish Grand Prix on October 10th. There's no clear favorite for this one since races on this track only recently resumed. Although Lewis Hamilton did win the last race that took place in 2020, Daniel Ricciardo might have a better chance of winning the Turkish Grand Prix than the Russian one, and hopefully improve his standings to reach the top 5. The United States Grand Prix will take place on October 24th, followed by the beginning of the South American leg of the season, where races will take place in Mexico City and Sao Paulo. And then finally the season will conclude with the 2 final races taking place in Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi. This will be the first Saudi Arabian Grand Prix ever held, and that might just be good news for Ricciardo, as no other racer will be too experienced on the track. Ricciardo's form. To say Ricciardo's win was a surprise is quite an understatement. Throughout the early half of the season, Ricciardo had been consistently underperforming, but after the short summer break, Ricciardo came back at the top of his game and even shockingly won the Italian Grand Prix. He got better and better after every single race, and this is why he's become a new favorite for every race that follows it. However, his biggest flaw this year has been his inconsistency. While this may help him in individual races like the Italian Grand Prix with surprise wins, it's not going to help him win any tournaments. If Ricciardo wants to actually take it home, he's gonna have to start showing a bit more consistency, since even at the sprint qualifier at Monza earlier, he was clearly disappointed and frustrated that he only came in 5th place. He could obviously perform better considering he eventually won the GP, but the fact that he had 2 wildly different results on the same track during the same time period speaks volumes about his consistency. The final Sochi GP. The Russian Grand Prix is set to take place on September 26 in Sochi, and it's also going to be the last Russian GP held there for the time being, as the track's going to retire after this season. The Sochi track was the first Russian Formula 1 track ever, and it single-handedly managed to make the sport popular in Russia, bringing in millions of dollars to help the development of the sport. Since it held its first game in 2014, we've seen numerous iconic moments on the track, such as Lewis Hamilton's 4 wins. It also helped revitalize the tourism economy in the city of Sochi, but unfortunately, it's shutting down. Instead, the Russian GP will be moved to a newer track near St. Petersburg, Russia's second-largest city. St. Petersburg's proximity to Finland probably plays a huge role in the move, considering how popular the sport is in Finland, as well as other Nordic countries. The Agora Drive will be able to seat up to 50,000 people and has already been used by various motorsport tournaments in the past, and the move of the Russian Grand Prix to this location is likely to bring a lot more prestige to it. Tournament favorite Max Verstappen's going into the race with a bit of a handicap because of the collision between him and Lewis Hamilton at Monza, causing both favorites to retire from the race. Verstappen was handed a 3-place grid penalty because of the incident, and that might seriously affect his performance and momentum going into the Russian GP. Prior to this, Max has won 2 back-to-back races. Being the #1 ranked driver in Formula 1 certainly put a target on his back, and considering he's young and has never won another Formula 1 tournament before, it gives Lewis Hamilton a shot at regaining the top spot in the tournament. The Hamilton-Verstappen rivalry is getting more heated by the minute, and with 2021 being one of the craziest Formula 1 seasons in recent years, we can't wait to see what's next. Verstappen versus Hamilton, who will win the tournament? The neck-and-neck standings, the collision at Monza, and the general tension between the two racers has led to the creation of an almost legendary rivalry that will probably be talked about for years to come. But the question still remains, who's the real favorite to win the 2021 Formula 1 Championship? First, let's take a look at Lewis Hamilton's history and his performance at the tournament so far. Hamilton is undoubtedly a legend, has won the Formula 1 Championship a record-tying 7 times, including every single championship since 2017. 2021 was set to be the year Hamilton was going to smash that record, which he shared with Michael Schumacher. But for the first time in years, Hamilton isn't the favorite to win the whole thing. He currently has 221.5 points on the table, 0.5 coming from the absolute mess that was the Hungarian GP, and trails by just 5 points behind the #1 ranked driver on the table, Max Verstappen. In the tournament so far, Hamilton has won 4 races so far, the Bahrain, Portuguese, Spanish, and British Grand Prix. As for Max Verstappen, he's been unstoppable this season. Despite not having won a single season before, the 23-year-old racer has, so far, won 7 different races in this tournament: the Emilia-Romagna, Monaco, French, Styrian, Austrian, Belgian, and Dutch Grand Prix. He stands at just 5 points ahead of his rival, Lewis Hamilton. If Verstappen actually does manage to take this tournament home, he'd be cementing his legacy as a permanent star in the sport and a future legend, much like Lewis Hamilton. Winning the tournament could mean a passing of the torch moment between Hamilton and Verstappen, where the new generation led by Hamilton takes over the reins of the sport. That's a wrap for this video. We'll see you next time.